Hello, everyone. You're all welcome to another edition of Erasmus Plus Week, International Dimension 4th edition, taking place between 24th and 28th of April, 2023. It is my pleasure to be one of the workshop speakers. And for the purpose of this event, I would like to introduce myself briefly. My name is Dr. Lukman Raimi, currently an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at the School of Business, University of Brunei Darussalam. I will be sharing with you a very important topic entitled Entrepreneurial Leadership and Internationalization of Higher Education, with specific reference to Petroleum Gas University, Romania. Whatever we are going to learn today applies to all universities or higher education institutions across the world. So my presentation outline is as projected. I'll be speaking to the workshop objective, opening quotes, introduction, defining entrepreneurial leadership, also explaining the importance of entrepreneurial leadership. I'll also define the concept of internationalization, the rationale for internationalization. Then I will situate, entrepreneurial leadership within the context of internationalization. Then I will conclude with a number of takeaways. So let's start the discussion with the explanation of the workshop objectives. There are two cardinal objectives for this workshop. The first one is to share valuable insights with the participants about the concept of entrepreneurial leadership and internationalization. Having understood these two important concepts, the second objective is to explain how entrepreneurial leadership can drive the process of internationalization of higher education in Romania and other parts of the world. So with regards to the opening quotes, I want to quote one of the legends called Sun Tzu. He said, and I quote, "Weak leadership can wreck the soundest strategy. Forceful execution of even a poor plan can often bring victory." So the import of this particular quotation is that if you have the best of strategy in place, but you have weak leadership driving such strategy, at the end of the day, you are going to meet with failure. However, if you have a very poor strategy or a poor plan, but you leave this poor strategy in the hands of a very strong leadership, be assured that you are going to gain victory. So this is to tell you the importance of leadership in driving change, plan, and also strategy. So the best strategy in the world, if you leave it in the hand of weak leadership, the strategy will not be successful. But if you leave very weak strategy in the hand of a strong leadership, be rest assured that you are going to witness victory and monumental achievement. So from this particular quote, we will all appreciate the importance of leadership, particularly leadership that is entrepreneurial, leadership that is able to achieve, and not only achieving, but is able to train team members to become achievers. With regards to this particular workshop, I want to state emphatically that in the quickly interconnected world, and if you like, in the emerging knowledge society, higher education institutions cannot effectively fulfill their triple mandates of knowledge dissemination, knowledge generation, knowledge application without leveraging two important catalysts. And what are these two important catalysts? The first one is entrepreneurial leadership, and the second one is internationalization. Therefore, the intent of this particular workshop is to share my reflection with the participant on this important issue. So let's begin by defining entrepreneurial leadership. There are a number of definitions in the literature, but for the purpose of this particular workshop, we're going to look at just two. The first one by Ayat et al., 2019. They define entrepreneurial leadership as the transactional or transformational style used by business administrators for generating idealistic situations that are helpful in mobilizing organizational members to embrace innovation, value conception, and entrepreneurial conduct for growing the fortune of the organization. If you apply this particular definition to higher education institution context, it simply means entrepreneurial leadership is talking about the need for higher education institution administrators, such as the vice chancellors, the rectors, the provost, the deans, and the heads of department, to be able to generate idealistic ideas, that will enable them to achieve university set goals, particularly the issue of internationalization. If you must make your university, polytechnic, or colleges of education visible to be able to attract foreign students, international grants, to be able to forge research collaboration, teaching collaboration, to attract academics on a short-term, teaching assignment, sabbatical, fellowship to your university, then those who manage the affairs of the university should leverage entrepreneurial leadership. Because entrepreneurial leadership goes beyond succeeding as an administrator. Rather, you are succeeding and you're also carrying other organizational members along, and you're also training them to be achievers, so that institutional administration will be effective, efficient, and also sustainable. The second definition is by Farnald, Solomon, and Tarabishi, 2005. They define entrepreneurial leadership as a new style of leadership mentality exhibited by entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial-minded managers who superintend over businesses and drive competitiveness. So the entrepreneurial mentality that we are talking about includes vision, problem solving, decision-making, risk-taking, and strategic initiative. In other words, for higher education institutions, managers, and administrators to succeed in the pursuit of the agenda of internationalization, they must have entrepreneurial mentality. They must be people with vision. They must be people who can solve problems. They must be very quick in making decisions. And not only quick, they must make informed decisions. They must be risk taker, and they must be strategic and also initiate strategic initiative that will give their universities, colleges of education, polytechnics visibility in the knowledge ecosystem. Let's look at the definition of internationalization, which is one of the cardinal objectives of contemporary higher education institution. According to DeWitt et al., 2015, they define internationalization as the intentional or deliberate process of integrating an international, intercultural, or global dimension into the purpose, functions, and delivery of higher education, which of course ultimately is expected to enhance the quality of education and research for what we can call institutional stakeholders, such as students, staff, administrators, and others. And at the end of the day, they contribute meaningfully to the society. The second definition is provided by Billing and Jones, also 2015. They define internationalization, as the intentional integration of international and intercultural dimension into the formal and informal curriculum of universities, for the benefit of students, while of course within the domestic learning environment. Take Petroleum Gas University in Romania, for instance. It is a university, a national university in Romania, owned by the government and people of Romania. However, for that university to be internationalized, you should be ready to introduce and integrate international dimension into your teaching, your research, and community service. You should also infuse into your curriculum intercultural dimension. You should be able to attract students, academics, researchers from America, from Canada, from Britain, from Latin America, from Africa, for the purpose of achieving inclusivity, diversity, and equity in university mandate, and also to be able to access international grants, international support funds, and also for your university to be well rated by international rating agencies. And the more internationalized you are, the better for that university, the more visible that particular university. Today, people celebrate Oxford University, Harvard University, MIT University. Why? Because these are universities that have actually leveraged internationalization. You see cross-section of people from different backgrounds, different culture, different ideological leaning, as students, as administrators, as lecturers. And that's the reason why these universities have continued to gain traction, endorsement, and recognition globally. So what are the importance of entrepreneurial leadership? Why should higher education institution embrace entrepreneurial leadership when we have other forms of leadership? The reasons are very, very explicit. One, it has been found that entrepreneurial leaders use their competencies and capacity to stimulate their team members' creativity. In other words, if you have entrepreneurial leaders as your VCs, your provosts, your rectors, your deans, your heads of department, they will be able to use their competencies and capacity to build other organization members in terms of their creativity, innovativeness, creativeness for mutually beneficial relationship. They will succeed, other organizational members will also succeed. Number two, unlike traditional leaders who leverage autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire leadership style, entrepreneurial leaders, leverage entrepreneurial leadership, which entails a lot of creative skills that enable them to think outside the box and act on novel ideas and value creation. So because of this particular inherent potential, they're able to drive the agenda of internationalization in research, in teaching, and community service better than traditional leaders. Number three, it's been found that new organizations, including universities, with promising business model, which suffer cash and technical constraint, can best be managed by entrepreneurial leaders. The meaning of this is that we have very good university that suffer from financial difficulties. Some of them, they have technical constraints that will not allow them to function optimally. So it's been found that entrepreneurial leadership, who are in charge of some of these universities in different parts of the world, they are be able to turn, the tide. They are be able to turn their weaknesses and the threats to what we can call strengths and opportunities. So they are very good in using lean resources. They are very good in changing, the dynamics. Number 4, entrepreneurial leadership leave lasting impact on new initiative. We all know that internationalization is a new initiative, and it could be best handled by entrepreneurial leaders. So that at the end of the day, lasting impact will be generated. They are able to inspire teams and champion innovative approach in new ventures. And finally, entrepreneurial leaders are also resilient in the face of environmental turbulence. We all, saw what happened at the peak of pandemic. So the Global Knowledge Society closed down face-to-face activities in universities, colleges of education, and polytechnics. But in universities and higher institutions where entrepreneurial leaders are in charge, of things or affairs, they are able to mount, what we can call virtual learning, using learning management platform to disseminate knowledge. Even in the peak of COVID, some universities are able to engage their students, and they're able to make their faculty members, functional. They're able to teach, using technology. But for traditional universities, superintended by traditional leaders, they simply close down university teaching, research, and community service. So these 5 points underscore the importance of entrepreneurial leadership in higher education institutions. Let's look at the rationale for internationalization before we link the two concepts. In the education literature, there are 6 reasons why internationalization is imperative. The first one, internationalization enhances the mobility of students and staff, as well as the mobility of project, programs, and providers. The meaning of this is that when you have a university that has embraced internationalization, it is always easy for students, staff, and other organizational stakeholders to move from one university, that is the domestic university, to international university under different collaborative initiatives, such as knowledge exchange, student exchange, staff exchange, short courses, university collaboration, research collaboration, program collaboration. Even providers can also, collaborate. We have so many grants providers who fund initiative, across university or among universities. And they do this only for universities that have embraced internationalization. Number 2, when you embrace internationalization as a university, it promotes real diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education. In different parts of the world, people subject diversity, equity, and inclusion to ordinary rhetorics. People write it as part of their core, culture. But in reality, it's just, in pen and paper. it is not real. But when you practice internationalization by opening your doors to foreign students, foreign culture, foreign, creativity and other soft and hard skills from students, faculty, administrators, then you promote real diversity, equity, and inclusion in your university. Number three, it's been found that universities that leverage internationalization are able to attract foreign students from wealthy countries. And also, they're able to access international grants and funds for their university because they have perfect blend of internationalization. The fourth reason is that when you embrace internationalization as a university, it paves the way for what I mentioned earlier on, exchange programs, academic collaboration among higher education institutions, and of course, the academics, the administrators, and students for mutually beneficial relationship. And the fifth one is that internationalization enhances good ranking of higher education institutions by the ranking agencies and body because of inclusivity and the multiculturalism. So I mentioned earlier on that if a university like Petroleum Gas University in Romania opens its doors, to internationalization agenda, so at the time of ranking institution, you are going to gain strong points in the area of diversity, equity, inclusion. And this diversity, equity, inclusion will translate into what we can call, beautiful outcome in your teaching and learning, in your research, and of course, in your community service. Because good heads, many heads, are better able to tackle problems frontally than few heads. And when you have heterogeneous community, you are able to bring on board diverse ideas, diverse solutions, and your solution will be very, very robust and enduring. And finally, universities and higher education institutions that embrace internationalization are able to generate revenue, huge revenue from school fees, from grants, from so many fundraising, activities for university. They are also able to secure a national profile of tolerance, of multiculturalism. And finally, they're able to build an international reputation as a world-class university for global students, for global academics, for global administrators. The next thing is to look at the synergy, the nexus between entrepreneurial leadership and internationalization. We mentioned earlier on that traditional leadership is good because they make positive things happen in higher education institutions. But because of changing in the world, because of paradigm shift, because of disruptive tendencies, technology, etc., so those we need at the realm of affairs in universities are those with entrepreneurial leadership. Because leveraging entrepreneurial leadership, you do more than what traditional leadership is doing. Therefore, when we talk about entrepreneurial leadership within the context of internationalization, we are talking about a leadership mentality that involves the creation of an environment, an institutional environment in which stakeholders such as academics, administrators, students, and other members of the higher education institution can be innovative and creative and take risks while working to achieve the goal of what? Internationalization. Internationalization is an agenda which is to be driven by the leadership, and the led. By led, we are talking about students, we are talking about academics, we are talking about the administrator, we are talking about the entire stakeholders of the university ecosystem. Therefore, entrepreneurial leadership in charge of higher education institution will play a critical role in facilitating and, of course, speeding up the process of internationalization, because entrepreneurial leadership has 5 means of fast-tracking internationalization. These means are vision and strategy, risk-taking, innovation, collaboration, and resource allocation. So how do entrepreneurial leaders such as vice chancellors, rectors, provosts, deans, and heads of departments, trigger internationalization or fast-track the process of internationalization? This and others will form the discussion in subsequent slides. So let's look at the means through which entrepreneurial leaders fast-track internationalization. The first one is vision and strategy. Entrepreneurial leaders can see the big picture in the context of internationalization, and they are able to develop a vision and strategy that aligns with the goal of their respective institution. We mentioned earlier on that they are visionary people, they are strategists. So by virtue of these two potentials, vision and strategy, they're able to develop a strategic plan that takes into account the cultural, social, economic, and political factor affecting internationalization process. So they are experts in setting vision, in driving vision, using what we can call inclusive strategy. So we need academic leaders with vision and strategy to drive internationalization. Number 2, risk-taking. Entrepreneurial leaders are willing to take risks and experiment with new ideas and approaches. We all know that internationalization, is resource-driven. You need human and material resources, which are already very scarce. So trying to pursue internationalization without really knowing what the outcome will be is a form of risk-taking. So most people who are risk-averse, who do not like to take risks, they fail in the process of internationalization because they cannot take risks. However, those who have succeeded in developing country on the agenda of internationalization are usually people who are risk takers. Therefore, when you take risks with internationalization, it offers you new opportunities. And the universities that, pursue this agenda are those who gain at the end of the day. Because when you take risks, you are trying to leverage an opportunity that is not very popular. And once you succeed, you are going to succeed, financially, you are going to succeed, socially, you are going to succeed also in the areas of teaching, research, and also community service. Number 3 is innovation. Entrepreneurial leaders are able to foster a culture of innovation by thinking outside the box and developing new ideas and approaches. So because of this particular, what we can call the characteristic of entrepreneurial leadership, they are able to pursue international agenda because it requires innovative thinking and innovative approaches to adapt to the needs, of the time. People want a university that is based on inclusivity, multiculturalism, a university that opens its doors to foreign students, foreign lecturers, foreign, administrators, to international grants, etc. And you cannot manage these challenging, opportunities without being innovative. Because if you are not innovative, it could be counterproductive. The fourth means that enables entrepreneurial leaders to carry out the agenda of internationalization effectively and effectively is what we call collaboration. Entrepreneurial leaders are able to foster a culture of collaboration by encouraging stakeholders in their universe to work together to achieve common goal. So because of this type of mentality, they are able to pursue internationalization effectively through collaboration, among departments, faculties, institutions, and also they're able to facilitate partnership and collaboration outside their own borders, outside their own countries for mutually beneficial relationship. They're able to drive collaboration between Petroleum Gas University in Romania and MIT in US. They're able to forge collaboration with Oxford University in the area of, exchange program, research, projects, and programs. At the end of the day, they gain, visibility. They learn from each other. So this is the power of collaboration, which is very, very important for internationalization. And finally, the last means through which entrepreneurial leadership is able to drive internationalization is resource allocation. Entrepreneurial leaders are able to allocate resources in a way that maximizes the impact of internationalization efforts. This is critical in the context of internationalization because as careful management of resources is required to ensure they are used effectively. What this suggests is that already resources are very, very scarce. When we talk about resources, we are talking about material resources, the physical facilities for teaching, for research, for community service. They also have constraint in the area of manpower. They have constraint in the area of money, or called the financial resources. So if you must use these scarce resources for internationalization, you need to use it in a manner that will yield optimal benefits and impact. If you invest $1 million US on internationalization, it should yield both monetary and non-monetary impact that will be double, triple. That is the importance of resource allocation. Because domestically, you need to use these resources. And if you channel part of these resources to internationalization agenda, then you must ensure that the impact is optimal and the benefit arising from internationalization agenda should be more than the cost of that particular agenda. Finally, I wish to conclude this workshop by restating that entrepreneurial leadership play a crucial role in facilitating the internationalization process in higher education institutions, not only in Romania, but in all parts of the world. The second takeaway is that entrepreneurial leaders are better to execute, to implement internationalization agenda. Why? Because they are able to develop vision and strategy. They're able to take risk, which many are running away from. They're able to encourage innovation, and they're able to encourage collaboration, and they're able to allocate resources to maximize the impact of internationalization efforts. And finally, as the world of higher education evolves and adapts to new realities of the global marketplace, and one of such realities is internationalization. Entrepreneurial leaders such as vice chancellors, provosts, rectors, deans, and heads of department will be crucial to ensure higher education institutions are able to meet the needs of students and faculty from different cultures and countries. And that's the hallmark of internationalization. Even business organizations that are business focused, they are profit focused, have also embraced the concept of what? Internationalization. Today, we talk about multinational corporation, transnational corporation, international entrepreneurship. All these leverage the context and the concept of internationalization. So the university or the higher education institution should not be left behind. They must embrace, they must promote, they must tolerate internationalization. Thank you for your rapt attention.